So start recording. Okay, so from now on it is being recorded. Okay, so as before, we're going to start a .NET Framework console app like this. So what we're going to do is to go File, New, Project, or you know what, I'm going to start from scratch. So when you open Visual Studio, it's going to ask you, okay, so what do you want to have here? And you're going to select create a new project, and from you might have console app.NET framework here in the recent templates, but if you don't, then you can always come here and say console, and that is going to give you all the console application, uh, different ways of creating console applications, and what we want is a console app.NET framework. There's also this way of finding it where you would select your language as C#, and you would select Windows as your uh, development platform, and from what type of application you want to develop, you're going to use console. And we wanted console.NET framework, not core, but framework. So next, and I'm not going to change anything here, and create. So what we are going to do is, okay, so we're going to write everything in the static void main scope. So just as before, I'm going to do some really basic stuff. So I'm going to say, okay, int a equals to 0, int b equals to 5, and I'm going to say string addition equals to $, double quotations, and a semicolon. I'm going to say a plus b in placeholders equals to a plus b, just as before. And let's see how that's going to look like. And there was some problem around, seems. Alright, let's see. Exit without code. Oh yeah, of course. I have to say, okay, console dot write line addition, and after that I have to say, okay, console dot read key, just to make sure that my window doesn't disappear every time. So start, and here we go. So 5 plus 0 plus 5 equals to 5. And this can be whatever else, like 7. And it is programmatic, so it is going to work just the way that we want. Now, what I'm going to show is how you can find relationships in terms of like Boolean. Is it going to be bigger? Is it going to be smaller? Is it going to be equal? And stuff like that. So operations on Boolean. So as you may remember, Boolean is going to be, is it true equals to either false or Boolean something else equals to true. So Boolean is always going to be either true or false. And what are the relationships between two numbers? The relationships between two numbers are going to be either A less than B, or A is bigger than B, or A equals to B. And let's actually get all of these and place them inside our placeholder here. So relation 1, relation 2, relation 3. So here we go, and here we go. So I'm going to change some of the text here as well. I'm going to say the relation A is less than B is whatever is the final result of what we have here. The same idea here is more than, and the same idea here. The relation A is A equals B is this guy. And what I'm going to do is to print every one of these. So I'm going to copy and paste these 3 lines, and relation 2, and copy and paste relation 3. Since we are not using these, then here we go. So let's start. As we can see, we are having all of the relationships in terms of true and false like this. So A is less than B, it is false. A is more than B, it is true, and equals is false. So it means that if I change this to 5, then the relationship of equals is going to be true, and the other two are going to be false. So basically, inside of C#, whenever you want to find out relationships between numbers, you're going to be using A less than, A more than, or A equals. And note that for equals, for finding relations, you're going to use double equal signs. If you ever use a single equal sign inside of relationships, then you're going to run into some issues. So this is going to be an operation here. Let me actually write this. This is going to create an operation where when this line here is reached, the value of A is going to be set to the value of B. So you have to really remember, if you are going to look for the relation, then you're going to have to use the double equals. A small example here, just to be sure. So I'm going to, instead of making it so complicated, I'm going to say Boolean relation 1 is going to A less than B. And let's get rid of all of the rest. Relation 2 and relation 3. Okay, relation 2 is going to be more than, and relation 3 is going to be equals. And well, let's run it. As we can see, false, false, true. And if I change this to 3, then again, false, true, false. Let's do this. Okay, let's have you do it. So here we go. I'm going to do something like this. Let me copy all of these. And let's paste them here. Four, 5, and 6. And I think this should be good enough. All right. By the way, it seems like we're having some issues with um, internet, so please close your other client. You only need to connect to the Jitsi website using one client. You don't need two. So you can close your monitor and share your screen using uh, your own client. Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, seems like Nick has already done everything. Awesome. Shibuya-san more. Yeah, so no issues there. Mhm. Shibuya-san, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can hear.
Okay, from your clients, you have one Masako Shibuya monitor and you have one for your own. You can close one of these two because your internet or my internet isn't so good, so I actually have something like a blurry image of your screen sharing. So please close one of your clients here.
Okay.
Mhm. Or you know what, I can close it for you. I'm going to close it, and here we go. Okay, so now you only have one client right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so please start sharing your screen or using your own client. And
Uh, but
just
this
before,
my
yeah, it's okay. But right here, so what I was doing right now was something like this. So I am sharing my screen on my own
Mhm.
computer. If I go here and press toggle view, then I can go ahead and start taking a look at other people's monitors like that while
Okay.
I'm sharing. So I can go
Okay.
here, I can go there, I can go back to my own screen. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah, please start sharing your screen. And yeah, it seems that everyone has finished. Awesome. So it wasn't that hard. Okay, so that's that. Now let's create our own small calculator. So this is where everything starts to like become interesting. So um, let's say we have learned a bunch of stuff and we want to put them into use, and we're going to see if we can actually do something. And who knows, maybe we are going to create an application for us, and we are going to do that. We are going to create a standalone application for ourselves that is going to do some calculations, some basic calculations, and let's see what that is going to look like. So I'm going to again clear everything here. I'm going to create two double numbers. So double number 1, and it is a good practice to start from 0 just to make sure that you always remind yourself that indexing in programming starts from 0 and not from 1. So number 0 is going to be something like that, whatever. And double number 1 is going to equal to something like this. Now, here are some of the stuff that I want to work with it. So string addition is going to be number 0 plus number 1. String again, string subtraction is going to be number 0 minus number 1. Again, string, yeah. The reason that it's giving me an error is because I am storing a result of a number inside a string. So this means that I either have to change this string or I have to change this system to say, okay, convert to string, not single, to string, and now it's fixed. But for the time being, I'm not going to do that conversion, and I'm just going to change all of these to double. Okay, and double division is going to be number 0 divided by number 1, and multiplication is going to be number 0 times number 1. So okay, so I just used my two numbers and I am calculating a couple of stuff. And let me add another thing. So, or you know what, I'm going to give you the if statement later. So now that I have all of these, I'm going to start creating my string. So string add equals to $, double quotes, and semicolon. I'm going to write the addition results of A and B is going to be addition. And let's copy and paste all of these. So subtraction, division, and multiplication. And notice that when I'm pasting it here, it's going to paste as a text format, but when I'm pasting it here, it is going to be pasted as a variable with a value, a number inside a placeholder for the string. So add sub div and mul. and console.writeLine. Let's just place add, and let's just copy all of those, all of the variables right here in our writing. So what we just did, we created two numbers, we did some calculations, and we created some string representation of all of those calculations, and after that we're going to print them into our console. This is basically a really basic calculator. Let's see what is going to be the result of that. So when I say start, it's going to give me all of the results. So the addition result of A and B is this guy. The subtraction result is this guy. Division and multiplication. Okay, so this is cool, but what if I want to be asked, okay, so what is going to be the number? I don't want to hard code it every time here inside the program. What I want to do is for the console app to show up and ask me about, okay, what is going to be your number? For doing that, first of all, let's print some instructions to the console. So console dot write line, what is the value of A, and a question mark. Let's add a space just for caution. And after this, I'm going to ask what is the value of B. Let's add two console.read keys here just to simulate what is it going to look like. So when I say start, it's going to ask me, okay, so what is the value of A? I have to give it some value. And after that, what is going to be the value of B? Then I have to give it some value too. So I just type N and S, and it's going to do all those calculations. So instead of read key, what I'm going to do here is gonna go console.readLine, and I'm going to say string value A is going to equal to this guy, to readLine, and string value B is going to be this. Let's take a look and see what happens. So this time I can write something here, and this that I just wrote here, this is going to be the input for that, which means that if I don't do all of these, let's just comment these out for the time being. I'm going to write value A and value B, and let's comment out here as well, and these two. And notice that this green line is going to be drawn under these two because it says that it is declared but it's not used. So that is something that you might see. So here's what it's going to look like this time. So if I say 55, and if I say whatever, it is going to print out the 55 and whatever that I just wrote here. Okay, so it seems that it's working so far. Now what I need to do is to get this value that I just got as an input and convert it from a string to a double, to a number. Why? Because let's actually take a look at that. So I am going to change these. I'm just going to copy these just like that, and I'm going to comment this out. Let's see what happens. It is giving me an error because I am getting a string out of my read line, and strings cannot be like plus or minus or divided by each other. These are number operations. So what I'm going to do is, okay, number, I'm going to declare a double. So instead, let's do some undos, and instead of that, okay, so I'm going to cut these parts right here. So I'm going to say double number one is going to be convert dot to double value a, and number one is going to be convert value b. What is that going to do for us is, okay, when I start my program, what is the value of a? It's 45.5. What is the value of b? It's 63.4. It is going to get those values, it's going to store them as strings, and then afterwards it's going to convert them into doubles, and it's going to start doing all of the arithmetic operations on them, and it's going to print out, okay, whatever the issue was. So this is cool, but I want to add something else to it. I want to add a relational uh, um, I want to see, okay, so what is the relationship between these numbers? Are they bigger, smaller, or whatever? So I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to create, so after I print out everything, so after here, I'm going to say, okay, console right line, double quotation, so I don't want to print anything, I just want to have a single line as a spacer. So console dot, oh, not console, okay, so string is less equals to $, double quotations, and that. And I'm going to say value a, or value a, value of a is less than the value of b, and a less than b. And it cannot be a string, it has to be Boolean. Or is it? No, it has to be a string. Yeah, this has to be a string, but this A and B has to be number 1 and number 0, like that. Yeah. And of course, is more than, so just like that. I'm going to change this, and is equals, so value of A equals the value of B. And again, make sure to have double uh, equal signs. and let's get a round of 3 console printing is less, is more, and is equals. And equals. Let's see how that's going to look like. Let's start. So it is going to ask me what is going to be the value of A. Well, it is going to be 75.9. And what is going to be the value of B? 102, 103.68. Here we go. It is going to print out the addition, the subtraction, division, multiplication, and it's going to print out the relations. So the value of A was less than the value of B right here. You can also do all of these. So let me actually start giving some comments around. So getting the value of A as a as an input from an input, getting the value of B from an input, converting both of the numbers into double for arithmetic operations and asterisks. The input from the console is going to be a string type, so it needs conversion. Here we are doing the add, subdivision, and multiplication operations. Here we are creating the string representation of the operation for printing to the console. Here we actually printing the results into the console, and here getting the relational data from the inputs in string format, and finally we are going to print the results into the console. Okay, so let's have you do everything here. I don't think that's too hard. So let's see if we can do that. So what I need you to do is to create inputs that are going to be getting from the console, and you're going to convert them, do the operations, print them, and get three relational strings and print them as well. Let's go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
A question about what is a green waveline? Can you see the screen?
Okay. Well, your console app is running right now. So on the top of the screen, there's this like red, yeah, icon, right?
Thanks.
You're welcome. Whenever you want to close out your console, you could just quickly export. So you can exit and you can just start again.
Yeah, I see.
Mhm. Shibuya-san, you're not sharing your screen. Mhm. Okay. Okay, so it seems like everyone is doing just fine. Shibuya-san, one thing. So notice that in the last part of your console app, the value of A is less than value of B, and you have there is no space after B, uh, after B in true. So you can actually fix that by adding an extra space after the colon. Yeah, right here. Exactly. Right after the colon and just there. Exactly. Yeah, so the space that you write here is also going to register as a part of your string. So the only thing that I would say about your code is that. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's have a 5 minute rest. And for the time being, if anyone, if you want to take a rest and be my guest, if not, if you have any questions, then I guess this is the best time to ask. So we'll be starting at 10:05. All right, so let's start. Okay, so far what we have done is to create a program that is actually doing something for us. So we are no longer like doing things that actually don't make sense. And what we have done here is that we have actually created a Windows application that is going to ask for input from us, and it's going to create some kind, it's going to do some kinds of operations or whatever it's doing under the hood, and it's going to give us the result of that. So earlier, as you may remember, I said that we are going to be creating Windows applications that are going to be standalone. So you may have noticed or that whenever we're doing this, whenever we're starting, this console comes up, and this awfully looks like something like this, the command prompt. So this is the console or the command prompt of Windows, and here we have another console that's kind of weird and interesting. So what has been created here is actually a standalone console application for Windows. And if we come here and take a look at the output here under the screen, we can see that after we do the start, let me finish this and like that. So after we do the start here and we do the debug, something in some place is going to be created. Let me actually copy this address and I'm going to paste it here. So in the project folder that I created with this exact address, we can see that 3 different files have been created. One of them is a console app.exe. And as you may know, exe files are executable files within Windows, and we can just double click on them and notice that even without having Visual Studio running, I am getting the console app that I have created. So I can give it 48, 52, and here we go. So addition is 100 and the rest of the information right there. So we are actually creating Windows applications. So I can actually copy this. I can copy this single file here, and I can go ahead anywhere that I want. I don't know, like let's just do a couple of ops and let's just paste it here. So if I paste it here, then it has no connection to Visual Studio whatsoever. And you know what? I am going to close Visual Studio altogether. And if I run this, then again it is going to run 48, 96.4, and here we go. It's doing its thing. One thing that you might might want to think about, so let me open Visual Studio again, and it was this sci-fi, not wrong. Yeah, it is. So one thing that you might have here is whenever you are doing the start button here, you're actually debugging. There are different um, compiling methods for debugging and the actual build that you're going to use as a standalone application as your final result. which means that if you want to create an application and say, okay, I have finished my development, uh, it is best that you don't do it using the start. It is best that you go to build and build solution. And as you can see, it succeeded with none because it is up to date. So whenever you do build, and let me actually rebuild the solution. If I go rebuild, then I'm going to create the same file. However, this rebuild is going to be much better in terms of like performance issues and stuff. So this is how you would create really simple console-based applications. And you can explore this on your own time. I don't think there's much to do here. What I'm going to do here from this point is actually I'm going to show you how you can work with operations on Boolean variables. So as you may remember, Boolean values are either Boolean value A equals to true, and true needs to be all in lowercase, and Boolean B equals to false. So Boolean values are going to be either true or false. So in relational values, what you can do is, okay, I'm going to say Boolean, let me again create my numbers here. So double A equals to 4, something like that. Double B equals is going to be equals to something like that. Boolean A equals to A less than B. And I'm going to uppercase this. Boolean A is going to, or let's just call it less than. Boolean more than equals to A more than B. Boolean equals to A equal to B. And again, notice that if I don't have that uh, um, double equal sign, this time it's going to give me an error because this is an assignment statement and you cannot do stuff like this. You cannot assign an assignment statement. So remember this. This is going to be something that you will forget many times. One other thing that we can do is, okay, less or equal is going to be A equal less than B. Or was it less equal? Yeah, it is less equal B. This is going to check if it is either less or equal to. The same idea, Boolean more or equal equals to A more equal B. Now, I'm going to say Boolean something true equals true. What I can do here is to change and flip this. So let me actually console dot write line something true. So let's actually do this. All right, and as you can see, it is true. I can actually flip this true button just like this. So I'm going to print it here, but this time I'm going to say equals to exclamation mark and the same value. What this does is to take the value of true here, flip it using the exclamation mark, and store it in the same value. I'm going to print that. So as you can see, true was flipped to false. And what does this mean? This means that I'm going to create an if statement. If something true equals to true, then console.writeLine, the statement was true. Else, or else if something true equals to false, curly brackets, and the statement was false.
I'm sorry, I cannot see your screen, Arastoo.
Let me share again. Can you see it again?
And I cannot hear you.
I can't see my own screen, so is it fixed now? No? Oh, you cannot hear me either, right? Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Alright. So, yeah, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so as I was saying, so we can use this in if statements. So I'm going to say, okay, if something true is equals to true, and remember, always use the equal double sign in if statements. Write it is true. If else it was false, then write it is false. And let's see what that is going to look like. Then it's going to print only because it was true, or well, it should have done that. And if I change this to false, then definitely it's going to only print out the false one. Now, inside of statements, inside of if statements, if your statement is of the type Boolean, then what you can do is to, okay, you can actually get rid of this. So if I go like this, it is going to be false. But if I turn this back to true, then it's going to say true. Why? Because whatever is the result of whatever is here, the result of it is going to be a Boolean that the if statement is going to take a look at it. Which means, just like before, if I say something true and leave it just like that, it's going to paste the first one. But if I say okay, I'm going to flip it here. And I'm going to say this one is going to be equal to false. If I flip it using an exclamation mark, then I'm going to get the result of false. So here's some of the stuff that you can do with exclamation marks and expressions with Boolean values. And just before we finish, I'm going to show you how you can actually start using if statements, which is going to be one of the most used statements that you're going to be using inside of programming. So how if statement works is you're going to have an if and some condition is going to be inside the parentheses, and based on that condition, a scope of curly brackets is needed, so you would have all of your operations. It looks something like this. So as we are seeing right here, I am saying, okay, if something true, then do this. If else something not true, do this. Just like before, in if statements, if you want to add multiple conditions, then you could say else if some other condition, then add a curly bracket. And finally, and you can have as many else ifs as you want. Some other conditions. And finally, you're going to have else, and for else, it's going to look for whatever was not true all over here. So else doesn't need a condition. And do some other op. Let's put that in practice here. So we had two numbers. If less than, then print, then console dot write line. Let's add a was less than b. If more than, and by the way, this shouldn't be p. If more than, else if more than, then console write line was more than b. And what can be the other solution, other relation? So a number is either less or more than some other number. Other than that, it's going to be equal. So else console write line and a equals. So what does that mean? It means that, okay, let's take a look at what happens. Start. A was more than B. A, well, it is practically more than B. If I change this to 10, then it is going to go through these three conditions and it is going to say, okay, A was less than B, since it was. And if I change them both to 10, then I'm going to see that less than was false, more than was false, now else, whatever was else than those prior conditions is going to be equals. And I'm getting that. Okay, so let's do this. And after this, if we have time, I think we might have time. Okay, let's do this. And then after that, I'm going to show you the and or, and we'll see. Okay, so it's time for you to do it. Nick, you're going to have to write your else if outside the scope of your if. Yep, right there. Okay, so it seems like everyone has finished. Okay, awesome. Um, I feel like, yeah, it's 10:30 and we don't have much more time. So I'm going to show you what ands and ors are going to look like inside C Sharp, and it's not going to take that long. And after that, then we can finish. So let's get back to my screen. So what if I want to, so this is like one condition here. What if I want to have multiple conditions? So for multiple conditions, you're going to have to use either the and, sorry, either the and or the or condition. In my keyboard, so let me actually bring up an image of a keyboard here. Keyboard layout. Okay, so in my keyboard, it looks something like this. So if I press Shift and the upper key above Enter, you can see that there's this like completely vertical line here. This is going to be used as OR, and here and is here, like Shift 7. This is going to be used as and. I don't know in Japanese keywords where you can find this, but you're gonna have to find that on your own. It will basically look like a vertical line, like this. So what does that mean? That means that I can add those inside my if statements. So if E was less than or more than, then print was not equal to, else then write this. So I'm going to start this, a equals to that. So let's see, what does that do? Yeah, it is basically doing whatever it wants. So if I change this to 15, a is bigger, but it is not equal to b. And if I change this to 30, then again, a is less than b, but is not equal to b. So this is going to be or. What is going to happen if I say and? Then a equals b. And means that, okay, so these two have to be both true. And since they cannot be both true, then a equals to b was printed. This doesn't mean that the condition, this means that this condition was not met and the else statement was done. Let me actually show you in a much easier way. So Boolean and equals to less than and more than. Boolean or equals to less than or more than. And let's just console dot write line, and that's right here, and console dot write line or. It's going to give me false and true. Why? It's because this. Okay, so A is less than B, which means that A less than B is going to be true. A is not more than B, so more than is going to be false. The result of AND is going to be true only if both of them are true at the same time. So here we have one true and one false. So the result of the AND operation is going to be false. So like one true, one false is going to be false for AND. However, for OR, it's going to say, okay, either one of these two should be false, should be true for OR to become true. So again, less than was true, more than was false. One of these two was true, so OR is going to become true. So one true, one false is going to be true for OR. And it is not it's not limited to only two statements, which means that you can add multiple ORs. So I can give it another or equal. So basically, if I do something like this, either less than is going to be true, either more is going to be true, and there's either is going to be equals to true. So if I ever do some statement like this is always going to be true, the result of it. This might be a little bit tricky, but you're going to get used to it real soon. And that's all, I guess, for today. If you want to give this a try, then let's do it. And after that, then I think we can finish. All right then, it seems like everyone here is getting the hang of it. Okay, awesome. Okay, so you can practice these things on your own as well, and uh, anytime you run into any issue or problem, then always, as always, feel free to let me know and send me direct messages or um, send message on the weekly channel, on the weekly C# learning channel online. And yep, and it was really nice. And maybe from the next session we might be getting into Grasshopper and writing C# for Rhino, so it's going to get more exciting from this point. But we really needed to know about all of these really basic stuff, and might be next session, might be the one after that. But just know that soon we're going to be migrating to C# and Grasshopper, and we're going to be starting to work with geometries and manipulating them, and that is going to be way more fun than this. And it was really nice seeing you, and yeah, if there's any questions, please, I guess this is the best time to ask.
Nope.
All right. Very well then. Thank you for participating, and see you on the next session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.